Yeah, what's up, guys? Schady here. For something that you haven't seen yet, the Union news. Well, I should say, welcome, Battle Union fans. Well, I fucked that up. Nice. And if you don't know what this is, which you probably don't know how exactly this goes, my partner Shroomraver will take you over how things will go.
Yes, indeed. Hello, everyone. Shroomraver here. Welcome, as Shady has said, Battle Union fans. What this is, the Union news, we're just going to be sort of going over the week's results, kind of briefly. We'll get into more detail on those results in the power rankings, which should be out in a couple of days. Nice and plug. So we're just going to be going over sort of what's been happening in the week, what bench trades have been made for the individual teams, the results of the games, any sort of important points about that, and sort of just going with what's been going on in the Battle Union chat and how the managers are squaring up to one another.
Exactly, and something that's only going to happen for this week is we're going to talk about the bench trade that happened for week 1, because there was no Union news before week 1, so we're going to do that or round 1. We're going to do it now. Dusknor was brought in for Weezing for the Bristol City Fletchlings, if I recall correctly.
Yes, except it's Dusklops.
Dusklops. Did I say Dusknor?
You did.
I even have Dusklops. Okay, nice. Dusklops in for Weezing.
Yes.
You know, fighting resist, fighting immunity, other way around. Will-O-Wisp for Will-O-Wisp. That's pretty much all about that.
Yeah.
We're going to go into more detail in the future, maybe.
Yeah.
And let's go over to the fixtures for week 1 and the results.
Well, first off, the slight other change of managerial position
I'm all over the
we
place.
should go over. We should mention that Sizzlson, coach of the Somerset Sizzles, very unfortunately has had to sort of step back from the league due to IRL things that are going on for him. So he's got to sort that out, and we wish him all the best.
Definitely.
With that, and
Stepping in
an
for
interim,
him.
an interim manager has been hired.
Exactly.
The PPL's owns Jack, aka the Don Fanatic, will be stepping in the interim in Sizzleson's absence. What do we think of that, Shady? What do we think of Jack?
I'm very
as a
sorry for
manager?
the team to have such a terrible coach. No, just kidding. Jack kind of knows what he's doing. He has league experience. I think he will do better than he did in the PPL.
Yes.
And he has a really good team to work with. So I'm definitely going to look
He
forward
does.
to how he's going to work with that.
Yeah.
And I guess we're going to go into the fixtures now that happened
Yes.
in week
Now
1.
we'll get into those pictures. So, Shady, kick us off. What happened in the first?
You
game?
kick us off.
Am I?
Yep, that's... Yeah.
I am kicking us off. It's always great when these things are scripted and they still don't go to plan, isn't it, PPL fans? So, the first match we're going to go over, Anima and the Golden State Dragons versus Richie 15,000 and Liv Wurmple FC. A 2-0 win there for the Golden State Dragons. Anima dealing pretty well with the amount of raw power on Richie's team, on his squad. Richie was at the top of both our rankings in the initial power rankings, with some massive threats that the Anima was able to get around fairly well, dealing with that very powerful Kieran Black, with her mega pick, Mega Metachan, really came in clutch for her there. This is the first game, and there were a few things that both coaches weren't exactly prepared for. Richie came through with Florges, for example, which was not expected to be one of his premier threats, but did put in the work for him, and made it a pretty even game first off. But yeah, Anima just able to come through there, take the 2-0, and get her season off to a good start. But Richie still has that powerful team. So first week, things are certainly not over. Plenty of time left for him to get back into it, and indeed for Anima to maintain a winning record.
Indeed. Moving on to the next one, the Welchans faced off against the Somerset Scissors and managed to get their first victory, the 4-0. This game still managed by Sizzawesome, and it was a very one-sided match, and that reflects the score. The score reflects that. Other way around. With Empoleon coming in clutch, actually. Maybe somewhat surprisingly. But Empoleon with the Sugarberry coming through against the Landers Incarnate, which is really, really good to see. and Frito overall played this amazingly. And we'll see how Jack comes back from the first loss of the Somerset Scissors. And moving on.
Yeah, third game, CG and the Blastburn Rovers taking on Bice Productions and the Twin Leaf Tyrants. Bice managing to come through with his own 2-0. We saw some really good signs from CG there. Mama Swine was putting in a lot of work, as we expected it to. Along with Hariyama, who, as we've mentioned, has been a previous sort of MVP in league draft-based leagues. Words and things. But Bice managed to save some really important threats. Mega Pidgeot put in a lot of work. And once CG's Hariyama went down, Weavile, one of the premier threats going, was able to put in a lot of work with not a lot being able to stand in its way. But as we mentioned, CG has been out of the game, out of the singles game for a while. He's getting himself back into it. He has the team to really put in a lot of work. And as we keep saying, it's early days. We're going to have to see how people come back from losses or continue from their wins.
Exactly, and now we move on to the next game, Swiskers versus the Slovenian Arcanines, and the Swiskers actually managed to pick up a 5-0 victory over the Slovenian Arcanines, which might be surprising for a lot of people, because Xenon is definitely a favorite for a lot of people. But he had a big issue. He could not bring Meloetta. He had some genning issues with that, because genning legendaries is incredibly stupid and way too difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Goddammit, Game Freak. Which ended up in Mega Venusaur not clutching the game, but pretty much winning on its own almost. The combination of things like Victini, of course. Because Xenon had to bring Keldeo instead, and he just didn't have anything to kill Mega Venusaur reliably. And yeah, I guess that's all we have to say about that, or I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get on to sort of the more detailed stuff about team building and what happens in, as I say, the power rankings. But yeah, it was an unfortunate start for Xenon, but it's Xenon, He's
going to come back.
He will. Speaking of 5-0 results, the Bristol City Fletchlings and Ashton Akai taking the 5-0 over the Highland Houndooms and their manager Jedi Cardet. Ashton, he prepped very well for this one. Jedi actually brought what I thought was a fairly good team. Unfortunately, he was surprised, as were many of us, by the Bristol City Fletchlings Mega Ordino. First week bringing the offensive Mega Ordino, able to take out pretty much all of Jedi's answers to the Talonflame. Surprise Grassknot KO on the Quagsire, and Bristol City Fletchlings able to come through with a combination of that and Clawwitzer, who I singled out as a potential MVP, coming through with 3 KOs and ninja dodging a charge beam. The only other thing I'd say there, Jedi managing to get 1 KO, and it was Mr. Mime that got it.
Yes.
Very interesting. Mr. Mime making its case early on with a KO. We'll have to see how is that going to sort of pave the way for Mr. Mime to become a real force to be reckoned with. We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe can continue this trend. Well, hopefully not the only thing that gets a kill on Jedi's team. That would be kind of unfortunate.
This is true. This is true.
But at least get a kill. And moving on to the very last game that has happened, and that's the LA Nice. The LA Luxray took on the Kentucky Cackleons and got a 2-0 victory with Azumarill coming in really, really good for Gabriel. And something about Squirtacular, Josh, is that he brought Scolipede with Aquatail to manage to deal with Gliscor and a lot of other things. The preparation on both ends was really, really nice. Unfortunately, Josh missed an Aquatail, which cost him a bit, or quite a lot actually. And something that I have to point out about Gabriel, he got his Speedy Bees right, and I love that. Yeah. I'm a fan of Speedy Bees.
Yes, that is true. Schady is the speed creep master.
I am indeed.
Always good to see people doing that with their EVs, specifying it for certain threats, of course.
Definitely. So yeah, we have 3 2-0s, 2 5-0s, and a 4-0. Pretty interesting.
Yep. Very interesting indeed. Just that really nice mix of fairly close games and a couple of one-sided ones going on there as well. The managers, I think, really just starting to get a feel for their squads, seeing what's going to work and what isn't. And it's going to make for some very interesting games next week. Or rather, the games that are happening this week, I should say. Some very interesting ones coming up indeed. We're going to run down them right about now, as well as seeing what kind of bench changes have happened for these upcoming games. So, I guess first up we have Anima and the Golden State Dragons going to be taking on Jedi and the Highland Houndoons. This is going to be a very interesting one. Anima off the mark with that 2-0, very strong team. Jedi with his strange team, his strange sets, and he's going to be looking to prove a point in this one. I think you would agree.
Definitely. Maybe Mr. Mime can get another kill. You know, that's probably Jedi's main goal for the season. Just get Mr. Mime kills.
One kill a game for Mime. I think is what we want to see. It's what we all want to see here.
Definitely. Moving on, we have Richie and the Liverpool FC taking on the LA Galaxray and Gabriel. And this is a match that I'm personally really looking forward to. Richie with his incredibly strong draft lost week 1 against Anima, while Gabriel managed to pick up a victory over another very strong contender in Josh. Both of them have really, really strong teams. We have a really defensive team on Josh's side and a really offensive, wall-breaking team on Richie's side. This is going to be really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yep, I am as well. That's going to be a really interesting game to watch out for, as indeed is the third game, Freedomion and the Welshions taking on Squirtacular and the Kentucky Kecleons. Two managers who get on very well, and you know, Fredo coming in off the back of that big 4-0, Squirtacular off the back of a 2-0 loss, as we say, to Gabriel. And here we're going to see some of the first bench changes. Fredo and the Welshions bringing in Crawdaunt for Zorork, which is upsetting Schady quite a bit as a big fan of Zorork. But in response to that, the Kecleons bringing in the powerful Horlucha in place of the rather underperforming Frostlass, who was just straight KO'd in the first game without really doing anything. Going to be interesting to see what kind of things they will add to their respective teams.
Yeah, and you criticized Frudio for not having a powerful wall breaker, or not enough of them, and now there's Crawdaunt in the team.
Yeah, and now he has
Crawdaunt.
He did. And I'm excited to see what Crawdaunt's going to do. Crawdaunt is a massive threat.
Definitely. Moving on, we have the Awesome Set Scissors, now coached by Jack the Don Fnatic, taking on the Slovenian Arcanines and Xenon. Both teams coming off a really big loss, 4-0 for the Awesome Set Scissors, and a 5-0 for the Slovenian Arcanines. But both of them really have really, really strong teams that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing face off against each other. Nice sentence there. And one of them is going to pick up their first win. And let's hope it's not a massacre again.
Yes. You never want to see a team take 2 massive losses in the first 2 games. So
definitely not.
It'd be nice to see a really close game going on there.
Indeed.
Fifth match is going to see CG and the Blastburn Rovers take on Enzo and the Swiskers. A couple of changes. Once again, a change for either side. CG bringing in the massive threat that is Excadrill for his Magneton. In response to that, Enzo and the Swiskers bringing in the defensive monstrosity that is Cofagrigus for Virizion, which is going to be interesting. Virizion in itself is something that resists a lot of what Excadrill can do to it, other than the Rogue Aerial Ace. But Cofagrigus, a massive wall, can work on either side, physically or specially. And yeah, it just brings a lot of defensive and potential nasty, tricksy options for the Swiskers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, match. One team lost, one team got a big win.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting to see how both Mons counter each other. The Swiskers that drop Virizion, which takes on Magneton rather well, while Cofagrigus takes on Excadrill. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see how they work.
And the last game is the Twin Leaf Tyrants versus the Bristol City Fletchlings, and we have another change on side of the Fletchlings. They picked up Gligar for Aggron, so they made their second bench trade already. Gligar is a very reliable mon. Even though it has that 4x weakness, it's gonna take hidden powers and even ice punches, depending on who they're coming from, of course. So yeah, I'm a fan of Gligar. It gives him more hazard removal. But both teams picked up a win. Bristol City Fletchlings coming off that big 5-0, while the Twin Leaf Tyrants got a 2-0 against Sigi. Both very, very strong teams with very surprising sets on the Fletchling side, which I rated rather low in the power rankings. But
yeah, and he's really sort of stamping his authority on this competition. those ones that we sort of were a bit questionable about, they've started putting in a lot of work already.
Definitely. Looking forward to it, match. Just like with every other one.
Very
Nice.
much so. Very much so. So that concludes sort of the fixtures breakdowns of this week and next week. And finally, it's always interesting, I find, to see how the managers are sort of squaring up to one another, what kind of things they're saying to one another. And it's time, I think, to call out some of these managers. Not a lot going on in the early days of Smack Talk, but we've already seen Frito. Frito has been casting aspersions on Gabriel's Frostlass. Gabe wasn't too happy about having to consign it to the bench. He said it doesn't belong on the bench. Frito, answering back, doesn't belong on his team either, apparently. After that disappointing first game. So Gabriel, I'm sure, will be looking to answer those evil rumours in week 6 when the two teams clash. What do we think about that, Schady?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Always to see the mascot of someone being bashed. And we once again have a very offensive team on Frito's side against a defensive team on Gabriel's side. When that happens week 6, we'll see who was right.
Indeed. The other thing, we've had some interesting banter going on between Sigi and Jedi. There's been a lot of speculation over the kind of movesets Sigi is going to bring on Mega Pinsir. And Jedi has claimed that if Sigi brings Hyper Beam Mega Pinsir, it will compel him to forfeit on the spot. In response to that, Sigi has promised the same if Mr. Mime KOs his Mamoswine with Double Slap. Jedi's response to that, he will double bitch slap your Mamoswine out of the league.
That's creative, to say the least.
It is. That is a match I am looking forward to off the back of those claims. Really want to see what they're going to do. I'm looking forward to seeing the kind of set Sigi is going to be bringing on that Mega Pinsir. I can tell you, he's got some very interesting ideas for it. Not that I'm going to go into them, of course. That is for Sigi to reveal in his own time.
And when they play week 4.
They play week 4. That is going to be a game I am looking forward to. Seeing if that Smack Talk is going to reveal itself as truth or mere lies.
What happens if they both bring their sets? Are they just both going to forfeit? And that's interesting.
Interesting question for the philosophers, it would seem, as to who gets the points.
Whoever reveals the set first wins.
Yes, I think so. First past the post, as it were. So yes, that I think is going to conclude this inaugural episode of the Union News. So thank you all for stopping by. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and we'll continue to keep watching these as we explore further into the games and what the managers are saying about each other. So, any last things to add before we sign off, Schady?
Not really. I'm looking forward to next week, and you will see us in the power rankings on, I think, Thursday, if everything goes according to plan.
Yep, absolutely. So, we will see you all on Thursday for the power rankings. As I said, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Take care, TBU fans.
Goodbye.